Welcome to another episode of Theology Talks You Like or Not. I am your host, Rev DeSaint, and I am sitting next to the Joss Duncan, who does so much in Philadelphia. We're going to get right into it because we're talking about love. Welcome to Theology Talk You Like or Not. I am your creator, curator, investigator, sometime instigator, but definitely a liberator, Rev DeSaint. And for a few moments of your sacred time in this sacred space, I invite you to tune in as we talk good, talk back, talk loud, talk smack, talk life and love, talk true, talk music, talk art, talk faith, hope, peace, joy, talk justice, talk God. Let's talk. How you doing, Joss?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Joss, let's just get into it. Let's talk about theology. How do you understand theology and your relationship with theological framework, especially when it comes to love?
That's a very interesting question. I figured this would be about theology because of the title. But for me, of course, I grew up in church, didn't understand church. It was a lot of pomp and circumstance to me. And so I was really interested in, I guess, all religion for a while. So I have tried being a little bit of everything. Jehovah's Witness, 5%er, just took a lot of different journeys. But one thing that stands out that I remember, that I think about often is praying with my Muslim aunt as a child. And I remember praying with her and having this sense of peace that I didn't have anywhere else in my life. Like at church, it was a lot of like pomp and circumstance. It was, singing certain songs and, so many holidays, needing to get dressed up. But when I prayed with my aunt, it was just going to a space. We had like a prayer rug and we would do our prayers and was making salat. And I just remember as a child being 6 or 7 years old and having this deep connection to the practice of prayer. It felt like this very honest and very intentional space that was being created. And I didn't really find that in church, So I just remember kind of journeying with that feeling of like, I can't wait to pray with my aunt and my cousins, but then also going to church all of the time. And when I was about 10 years old, I was at my aunt's house and she told me, maybe you shouldn't go up to pray this time because you're getting older and you really should understand what it is you're doing. So I want to encourage you to really like understand the faith that you're growing up in and understand Islam. And I remember being heartbroken, like, wow, I can't pray with them anymore. But I think that was the beginning of my interest in, kind of what faith really was. And so I continued to go to church, through my teenage years. And then I just kind of completely like abandoned all of it and turned to just kind of, looking more so to culture. Yeah. And so with that, I've taken a few different journeys in terms of gaining an understanding of like theology. So I am an interfaith seminary dropout. I went to interfaith seminary for 2 years. And I am an ordained minister. So I've been ordained since 2014.
Within what frame? What
Christian? Well, actually, it's the Universal Life Church.
Okay.
So most of the people I know who are like ordained through the Universal Life Church. Are you?
I am not.
Okay.
I am Baptist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, God.
Yeah. So I went to seminary actually after I was ordained because I wanted a different kind of a curriculum. And so I studied mostly Christianity though throughout my life, and Again, I've explored being a Jehovah's Witness, and of course African, religions and cultures, because I'm a storyteller, and so that led me to want to understand, Yoruba and Santeria and Voodoo, and just kind of what those religions, were all about. And so between my kind of cultural explorations and my knowledge from seminary, I've explored Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, Yoruba, Voodoo, Santeria, and Akan.
Wow.
And so
That's rich.
It is rich, but with all of that, I still think that there, in terms of theology, I think it's a wisdom, that can be found in all of those texts. And so I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to kind of sit with each of those and really kind of pull what I consider to be theology from those texts, and to develop a body of work that I share that is based in love.
Yes, that's good stuff. Where do you sit now with the divine, with people and others, given your journey?
I mean, I feel like it's a language, and I feel like I speak several languages. So there are times when I feel very Christian, because the journey, the way that I'm journeying through life, it for me connects to Jesus and Jesus's journey and Jesus's connection, to and as God, So there are times that I feel very Christian. There are times that I feel very like Yoruba, so it's really, for me, I think in the same way, like if you would talk to a person who spoke several languages, if you say, well, like, which language are you? It's like, no, I'm whichever language I need to use for the leg of my journey that I'm on, or for the country that I'm in, or for, so I feel like I have access to several different ways of understanding. I do believe that all religion is kind of about framing the mind. It really can be kind of like a psychology in a lot of ways, because it gives you, theology and religion give you something to believe in, to make sense of the world, to make sense of the ways that people relate to each other, to make sense of the ways that, that we relate to the universe. And so people need different ways of thinking sometimes to kind of feel like they have some sense of sanity in this world, So I think all of it is really just about framing, and like where you are, what your geography is. Like, so much of that plays into faith, so.
What happens, or what do you think happens with people who have their own religion and yet tries to push their religion or their faith practice onto someone else? Because you say there's a common theme in each and every one of these religions that you journey. So what is the grapple with individuals when it comes to rather evangelizing or separating those practices and making it seem like their religion, their faith practice is indeed the practice, the God, the right way of doing it?
The right way or the white way?
Well,
I mean, maybe that was a Freudian slip, No, I think religion has been misused, for hundreds of thousands of years. It's a way of controlling. Again, it's about mind framing. It's about how can you guide people towards a certain kind of like action, or towards existing with each other in a certain way. And so I think when you have a religion that works to frame itself as the only way of thinking about it, usually there's an element of control in that. And, so I think that people sometimes are a little bit like brainwashed, to believe that the thing they believe in is the only thing, and usually the reason they believe that so wholeheartedly is because that belief has served them, has helped them to either come out of a dark place or helped them to navigate the system that we live in. And so they feel this personal sense of like, this worked for me, so it must be the truth. And it's just a way of contributing to the system. It's kind of like believing that every single person needs to go to college in order to get a job. Like, the system will tell you that that's what you need in order. And it's like, yeah, not necessarily, So I think religion is kind of set up the same way. And not just, here in the United States, but like everywhere. It depends on, kind of what's happening, what's going on. People will push whatever the God is. And I mean God as in the thing that is controlling society, that God will push itself through, the culture and the religion so that people operate in a certain way to continue, kind of giving back to the system that is operating as the little God.
Why religion? Why faith? Why tradition? Why do we even?
Well, so I think what I just said about the little God, that's the thing that that kind of separates us, and that's the thing that is kind of the negative aspect of religion. But when you look at the positive aspects of religion, it can be very beautiful. It's a way to build community. It's a way to really think about possibility. It's a way to help make sense of things that people don't understand. So I think one of the reasons I appreciate feeling like I speak different religious languages is because I can actually, look at things that I don't necessarily believe in for myself, but I can really appreciate it. When I go to church and people are like wilding out, running up and down the aisles and doing it, I'm like, man, this is beautiful. Now, I don't necessarily do that, but it is a place for people to express and connect and build community in a way that that can be very beautiful. So I think religion can create a system of support, and I think a lot of people journey through different religions, and sometimes people are in religions and they feel stuck. Like they've obtained a sense of celebrity inside the religion, or they're now earning their livings off of these religions, and they don't even really believe anymore, so that's when I think it's really tough. But for, I think, the general population of people are searching for a way to make sense of life. And I think religion often offers something. And so, especially, with today, it's like a mental health crisis going on, you know. And so I think if people didn't have religion or something to put their faith in that was bigger than, the economic system, the political system, then they would probably feel helpless.
So I mean, I hear you saying that to some degree. Like some of us do need the structure of organized religion.
I think organized religion, again, as long as it's not being pushed on people, and as long as people are not being forced to give all of their money over to these like institutions, and as long as there is real love at the center of the work, I think it can be beneficial. I mean, if you look at some of, the activist movements, a lot of those started, in church, and so they're like great ways to like pull people together, to organize, to find common ground, to share messages, but I think when people start to, get too full of themselves, and think that as they move up in the church that they're like closer to God, that's when we start having problems,
Who are some of the maybe theologian or maybe ancestors, things that your authors, actors that ground you, that speak to you, to your spirit being?
I mean, like, I think about Sonia Sanchez every day. I had the opportunity to take classes with her like 4 years in a row, and to just talk to her, and I feel like she helped me to really understand the power of my work as a storyteller, as a writer and as a communicator. And she really is grounded in love. Linda Goss, who is a storyteller, really was a mentor of mine in terms of, the way that I tell the intent of my story. She never mentored me in how to deliver the story, but she mentored me in where to stand as I position myself to deliver my story. And then there's Baba Jamal Karam. And these are probably people you don't know because they're not necessarily famous, but these are people who have made a huge impact on my life.
How would you define the work of the griot? What is that work?
The work is to know your people. You have to know who you are. You have to know your place in history. You have to know what activities and what events led up to this particular point in time. You have to have an ability to look into what can be and what will be and what should be. And once you do that, you put it in beginning, middle, and end, and you bring it to the people.
Thank you.
Baba Jamal Karam, he's this amazing storyteller, and he's used storytelling to organize and bring people together. There used to be this African American storytellers retreat where, we could all just kind of come and think about what is the intent of our work and how do we heal so that we can then go back to our communities and heal. And I think, having this quality time with Sonia Sanchez, Linda Goss, Baba Jamal Karam, that inspired me and gave me the foundation to then organize community storytelling programs, to then start my own kind of, storytelling company, and to really think about the foundation of my work as one of love.
So what brought on Love Now Media? It seems like it's your baby almost. When did you birth it, and what was the inspiration behind it?
Love Now Media is kind of like it's like a third child. Third child. So my baby was Griot Works. And so you're new to Philadelphia, so you probably wouldn't know Griot Works, but a lot of people knew me mostly for Griot Works. And so Griot Works, I used to be an African dancer. I don't know if you knew.
I didn't know that.
So I used to be a professional African dancer and found that, as an African dancer, there was this amazing opportunity to connect with the tradition, the culture, the songs, the drum, the rhythm, the stories behind the dances. We would be out there with cowrie shells and it's like, it was a beautiful expression, but not a lot of people knew the stories or which regions these dances were from or why people did these dances. And so I had this idea to start a dance company. It was Griot Don. Actually, that was the first baby. It was a dance company, and we told stories through dance.
Yes.
And so as I moved on from Griot Don, I did professional theater for a while, and then I said, well, what is the work of the griot? What is the work of the storyteller? And so griot is a West African storyteller. The actual name for griot is a jelly, Djeli. And so these are people who hold the histories, who educate, who resolve issues in the community. And I said, that's the work I want to do. I think that was probably the beginning of me, thinking about healing work. How could this cultural work be used to heal our communities? And so I started Griot Works in 2008. And through Griot Works, I started storytelling and filmmaking. And so I was documenting stories from around communities. And it was great. And it was all Black stories. And then in about 2013, after Trayvon got killed, was it 2013?
That was after Trayvon got killed. I think we got the verdict. We got the verdict
in 2013.
Yeah,
we got the verdict. I'm pretty sure it was on my birthday, July 13th, 2013. I just remember feeling that me wanting to do these very kind of cultural stories about, some of the stories were about, Orisha. Some of them were about animals, or they were folk tales or whatever. I just felt like it was getting soft. So it was getting harder for me to align myself with being like an organizer when like I was only organizing in the name of like folk tales. And I was like, hey, at some point, like, I'm gonna have to get with, like, Black Lives Matter was really kind of, developing, and I wanted to align myself with the movement because I was doing this Black work, already. In communities, but what I was doing it just didn't really have a place in all that was happening. And so I started shooting at all the rallies. I was going out there were die-ins, and this was so depressing for me. Like, I couldn't figure out my place in this work. And so I got really sad, and I decided to leave Griot Works because of that. But I still knew that I needed to be connected to the movement. And so I was just going out there and shooting video, going to these marches and these protests. And I was seeing people kind of, with their fists, and I was capturing that, and then with the other hand, I would see people holding hands. And I was like, what happens if I switched my lens to that?
Wow, that'll preach. That's good. Ooh, I felt that in my shondo. That's good. You are a storyteller because I'm literally locked into this story. Go ahead. This is good.
Yeah, and so I did. I remember the first shot, and I was like, wow. And I started just following all the love. And it was amazing. I said, there's love in this movement. There is love here. And so I moved to Los Angeles kind of with this idea. I want to do something around love. LA didn't work out. Came back. And I just started shooting. I had a T1i camera, an iMovie, which is why I have such compassion. And I said, I'm just going to start shooting love stories, and that's where the web series Revolutionary Love Stories comes from.
Yeah.
And I said people who are doing love work within movements, and so that's how Love Now Media started. Like, I started with the web series, but I'm an entrepreneur, so that means I had to institutionalize my art and think about ways to make money for it. And so it became a business.
Awesome. Where's Love Now Media now, and how can people access that?
So, lovenowmedia.com. We are in the process of doing our first feature-length documentary, which is called Falaka Fatah in the House of Umoja. I'm so excited about the story. I've been working on it actually for several years, but recently it's just been kind of reinvigorated. We got some funding for it. Been working with filmmaker Jason Pollard, who is very well known. So people can look for that. I think is one of the greatest love stories. Queen Mother Falaka Fatah was a journalist in 1969, found out that her son was in a gang and moved the gang into her home. And over 50 years, more than 3,000 boys have lived with her in the House of Umoja. And so that is ongoing right now. Been shooting for that like a lot.
That's awesome.
And then I'm also working on the next version of the web series. So the next season is going to be Love and Culture. So I'm looking forward to releasing that in June.
What love narratives are you capturing?
Usually it's love within movements. So this time it's love and culture. Where is the love in these different kind of like aspects of culture? So
awesome.
Yeah,
stay tuned for that. It's gonna be good. She's a great producer.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's time for my favorite part of the show, pop culture. And we're about to talk about social media and everything that's out there, all y'all youth playing with. I'm playing with it too. But there's some pros and cons about social media. Some, I think the older generation give the younger generation a hard time saying they're a bit detached from community. And there are the younger generation that is really involved in social media saying they have community there. What is your take on social media and community inside of that world?
I think it's a great comparison to like religion, right? So like Instagram is like a religion, Facebook is like a religion. If you think about the way Facebook now operates, you feel connected, but you're actually being kind of like controlled. And it's not just on the digital platform. Like what you do on the digital platform informs the way you perceive things in your like real life. And so, yeah, I think it's actually just interesting to see how these digital platforms have found ways to manipulate people and to make people think that they're actually connected, and especially with the devices now, the way they listen to you. It's not just advertising, it's the way, the algorithms populate your timeline. So you could be a Bernie Sanders supporter and think that like Bernie Sanders won the debate the other night because they're just going to show you Bernie Sanders things, or you think only Warren won, or if you're a Trump supporter, you think that Trump is killing it right now. I mean, and so then you go out and you live your life in this way that is based on things information that you think you got. So I think it could be dangerous if you don't have like real communities where you talk to real people and like hear real feedback about things. So at the same time, it can be a lot of fun. I think actually the older people are a lot more vulnerable, especially on platforms like Facebook, because like my mom is like in her 70s, for example. She'll sit there and take all of those tests. Which character on the TV show are you? But that stuff is getting information from her. Yeah. But she doesn't. She has no sense of media literacy. So she doesn't get it when I'm like, Mom, don't do that. You know what I mean? And so I think, and she really believes the things that she sees in Facebook. She's not checking dates or like whether the articles that she reposts are from like, fake kind of media outlets, so so she's a lot more vulnerable. And so I think it's not just a kid's thing. I think kids are like, they understand what it is. They understand how to use it. They understand how to get hundreds of thousands of like likes and follows and all of that to build their influence and monetize it. Yeah. So, I mean, I do think that in terms of attention span, we have to make sure that we sit our children down and have like real conversations with them and don't kind of let them kind of go down the black hole of the digital world and just kind of like not have like people skills, and the ability to kind of like, build community, so, but outside of that, yeah, but like, I love TikTok videos, this thing, and they do all that. I want to do one. I'm like, where's my kid to show me how to do one? So if I can get a kid to show me how to do one, I downloaded the app, but I don't know how to do it with the music. So it's like,
you're the second person. Listen, I have a phone.
I love it.
I say I use my phone for calling folks, texting folks, and occasionally going on social media. All that extra stuff. I'm looking for an intern and someone 12. I know there's some labor laws with children, but this is the world is being built by them and really for them.
Yeah.
It's shifting so fast. Technology is so fast.
Yeah.
I don't think children are learning in school how to navigate these devices or technology. They're just doing it.
Look, my 5-year-old niece can come over and make a whole YouTube video. And she's like, subscribe, do so. Like, she already knows what to say, even though we haven't posted it on YouTube. I'm not sure if she gets that. Like, she can come over and watch the videos. She doesn't know she's not watching them on YouTube, but that's a whole different thing. But in those videos, she's like, you can subscribe and you can like the page. And she just knows it. So I think it's because she watches that, But, I think our kids are there. I mean, they're just learning it, and I think that's great. Like, that's just kind of the way things are. I'm sure that, our parents were like, get the kids to, help us with the VCR or whatever,
That's right.
Yeah, Right. So it's just, there will be something else when they're adults, But I think it's just about, like, making sure that we question everything and that they have spaces to really, like, learn about how these things are working. And I think the economy also, how these things like impact the economy, how people are making money off of our data, how we should be, kind of advocating for ownership of our data and, what we can do with that, how we can sell it.
Our intellectual property.
Well, that as well, yeah.
I'm always concerned about that. But, I believe in sharing, and this is a new way of this generation learning from us too, by hearing these narratives in a digital, in a multimedia platform, because our youth are not sitting down with the elders and hearing the story. They're going to YouTube and making sure we have good content out there for our youth.
Yeah, it's true. I actually just came from doing a youth storytelling thing. And I started with this like African kind of song, and they were like, eh. They don't know what it is. And then I have this folktale that I tell, and I put like rappers in it. And so there's like Nicki Minaj and Beyonce. And so it's very funny. It's very true, but it's one of the reasons I get joy out of doing that story in particular with young people, because they're like, then they're in the palm of my hands, you know? So
is it a short story or a long story?
It's medium.
You want to share that story?
Oh my God.
I am Joss' audience.
Okay, so she wants me to share the story. So this is kind of like an icebreaker story for young people. It's called The Color Story, okay? So once upon a time, there was no rain and all of the colors were fighting. Do you know why they were fighting? Because they didn't know who they were. So these colors, they didn't know anything about their history. They didn't know anything about their culture. They didn't know anything about their ancestors, right? The only thing they knew were the things they were like watching all the time. This would include TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Snapchat, right? So they thought they were the things they were seeing all the time. I know you don't know exactly what I mean. I mean, these colors couldn't stand each other. They would like actually fight and talk about how much better they were than each other, these colors. For example, Red. Red thought she was Beyonce. So, Red have her hair all together, and she would come into the atmosphere, and they would go, "Who are you, Red?" Let me hear you say, "Who are you, Red?"
Who are you, Red?
Think of apples, strawberries, and hearts for your favorite girl. When you think of me, I'm red. I'm the best color in the whole wide world. And I'll say it again and again and again, 'cause colors is me.
Yeah!
I'm the color you want. I'm the only color you need. I'm the one that makes things stop. And the color of cherries on top.
Yeah!
Horrible, right? That was Red,
Ooh,
right?
Red. I like Red.
Yeah, but she couldn't get along with anybody else, you know. And then there was like Yellow, right? Yellow, he was terrible. Always fighting. Didn't know anything about his culture. He didn't know anything about who he was, anything about his traditions. He would just be watching YouTube videos all day. And, you know, he loved this old school Chris Brown, you know, kind of way. He would always be trying to be like Chris. He thought he was Chris Brown. In fact, Yellow would come into the atmosphere and they would ask him, "Who are you, Yellow? Let me hear you. Who are you, Yellow?"
Who are you, Yellow?
Yellow Swiss cheese. Yellow lemonade. Sitting in yellow sun while I'm sipping it in the shade.
Hey!
That's right. Bananas and yellow peppers. Whatever y'all colors do, I do it better. It was horrible, right? So, Yellow, Red, they couldn't get along. It was terrible. Then you had Green, right? Green was always on YouTube, and he loved old school hip hop. Like, who's your favorite old school hip hop rapper?
Old school. I mean, how old?
Old school.
A hip to the hip.
He liked them. Yeah, but you know who else he liked? Tupac. But you know what his favorite was? Biggie. And you know what the problem was with Green? He was always eating junk food, sitting there on YouTube eating potato chips. He didn't know anything about his history. He didn't know anything about his culture. He didn't know who he was. So he was sitting there, getting big, loved Biggie Smalls, right? To the point they called him Biggie Green. He would come in the atmosphere. He didn't like none of the colors. They would say, "Who are you, Green? Let me hear you."
Who are you, Green?
It was all a dream. Now I grow on trees. I'm on $1, so I want $1, so I do what I mean. I'm the color of envy, so the grass I birth. I'm the wave of the future, 'cause I saved the earth. Green. And if you don't know, now you know. Colors. It was bad, right? It was really bad. Green couldn't get along with Yellow, couldn't get along with Red. You know who the worst of them all?
Who was the worst?
Pink.
Pink.
You know, she loved Instagram. She would be watching Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. But you know who her absolute favorite was?
Who?
Nicki Minaj. Pink would come in the atmosphere.
Pink Friday.
Yes. She would come in the atmosphere. She didn't know anything about her history. She didn't know anything about her culture. She didn't know who she
was.
Right. She would come in the atmosphere. They would say, "Who are you, Pink? Let me hear you."
Who are you, Pink?
"I'm the prettiest color. And the prettiest, too. I blow pink bubbles with the gum I chew. I eat cotton candy and I'm lots of fun. Pink gloss on my lips because it matches my tongue." It was bad, right? So, Pink didn't get along with it. It was just horrible. All of the colors were fighting, right? So, because of that, there was no rain. The rain couldn't come down because the colors were over there, and the rain was for everybody, right? So, you know what starts to happen when there's no rain.
There's a
The
drought.
the plants start
dying.
the trees start,
Dying.
the people start getting really sick.
Dehydrated.
So that's when Father Sky knew he had to come in and call all the colors toward him. He had this way of calling the colors. He would go, "Hey, yo," and they would go, I. So he would go, "Hey, yo, I." One more time, "Hey, yo, I." So all the colors came up to Father Sky. And they were going back and forth. "I'm pink, I'm green, I'm blue." They had all this stuff with them, right? And Father Sky said, "What are y'all doing? You don't know anything about your history. You don't know anything about your culture. Do you know who you are?" Yeah, he said, "You are wonderful." He told them about their history, their ancestors. He told them stories. He said, "Listen, you all got to come together. This is what I want you to do. Put your hands in the air. Put your hands in the air. Put your hands on your heart. Touch your sister or your brother. Because we all need each other." And then he said, "Hey, yo, I. Hey, yo, I." Put your hands in the air. Put your hands on your heart. Touch your sister or your brother, cause we all need each other. Put your hands in the air. Put your hands on your heart. Touch your sister or your brother, cause we all need each other. Hey, yo, I. Now, give each other a great big group hug. So gave her a hug. And then guess what? They got stuck right there. And guess what happened? The rain came down. And that's how we got our rainbow. So, the next time you see a rainbow, I want you to think about your history. I want you to think about your culture. I want you to think about who you are. Put your hands on your in the air. Put your hands on your heart. Touch your sister or your brother. Because we all need
Each other.
And that's the moral of that story.
Thank you so much, Josh. That was beautiful.
It was fun. The kids love it, you know.
Yes.
I gotta get Cardi B's once I can do that, I'm gonna make Cardi a color.
You gonna give her a color. Cardi, you on that story?
Yeah.
Boo. Come in next time, TTYL or not. Thank you, Josh, for sitting with me
for sure.
and talking with me and sharing so much. I hope you all got something out of it, because I know I did. I am blessed just by sitting here. I'm so excited about this platform, because every time I sit here next to someone, you all pour into me, and I just hope it's pouring out to the world. And yeah, tune in next time to TTYL or not. Theology Talks You Like or Not. Peace.
To support this platform, please consider giving. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Theology Talks You Like or Not.